what are the efforts being made right now to address the crime, the traffic violations that are happening on Highway 99?
We receive a lot of complaints for the Highway 99 area. Specifically, my teams, I supervise the housing support officers as well as others. And so my team spend a lot of time in that area, but there's been a lot of complaints. Obviously, people drive pretty fast in that area. There's a lot of unhoused population in that area. So we spend a regular amount of time over there, but these kind of like targeted efforts, to really put like a whole day's effort in there to really kind of make a statement out there, and to really kind of help out those businesses and the people out in that area.
Absolutely, and I know, again, was talking to Steve, and he talked a lot about how, you guys are there. There are patrol units around helping. Obviously, the situation's been going on for a while. I know there's just a press release today stating the specific, how many arrests have been made and things like that. How long would you say has this been going on? Steve kind of mentioned 2022 is when he started getting involved, trying to be vocal. But how long do you think that this situation on Highway 99 has been happening?
I mean, Highway 99's always been a hot spot as long as I've been a cop for, 20-ish years. But we definitely, I think every part of the city, especially some of the unhoused populations and stuff like that, saw a pretty big uptick with COVID and all of that kind of stuff, especially with, the stay-in-place orders and that kind of stuff. I worked in the unhoused departments during that time too for the police department. And obviously we saw it grow exponentially during that time. So, that all contributed to the Highway 99 corridor.
Absolutely. And when it comes to, obviously, people have complained, trying to get involved, trying to make an effort, make a change. What would you say, what the future looks like for Highway 99 when it comes to trying to either, with the Eugene Police Department, trying to get these people into housing, to either get them into facilities, arrest them, what does that future look like for that area?
Well, it's kind of a multifaceted, approach. There's a lot of entities that are out there really trying to do a lot of good work out in the Highway 99 corridor and just in the city in general. When I talk about my teams, I say that loosely because that encompasses, partnerships with Public Works, partnerships with other entities that are out there doing work as well. The motor units were out there. And then there's a lot of different shelters out in that area that are really doing a lot of effort to try and get people in those transitional housings. So I think that's doing a really good job in a lot of those places. And some of those people we see out there are just the people who don't want to participate in those programs. That's kind of what we see a lot of. And unfortunately with those situations, that's something where we kind of have to step in with law enforcement, and that's the enforcement side of it, when they don't want to participate in those programs or they don't want to seek that help. I think it's just a constant evolution with Highway 99 of different things there, but.
Absolutely, and like you said, when it comes to people not necessarily wanting that help, and I was talking with Steve again, he was talking a little bit about, he's seen people, that he's done it, tried to himself, take these people to these facilities for them to get care, had cops come out, and then the people don't want to go. What would you say, is the relationship between, the homeless population, the unhoused population, kind of on Highway 99 and the Eugene Police Department and your officers that are out there?
Honestly, I think a lot of them actually have a pretty good rapport with my officers. We'll go out there, and a lot of times they know them by name. They know who they are. They're contacting them. And with obviously we're always going to deal with hostility to a degree, to some level. A lot of them actually, know us as regulars out there. So they're having regular contacts with them, and they actually have a pretty good rapport with a lot of these people, And they keep trying to see what they get, because maybe not today's not the day, maybe tomorrow's the day, or maybe 2 weeks from now is the day when they finally decide to seek those services. And we've all got our part to play in it, and our job to do as far as cleaning up the area out there, because the business owners, they matter too, right? They're just trying out there to run a business, to not have to deal with those kind of issues and stuff like that too, and that's where we come in, and we have to have that enforcement role for them.
Absolutely. And what Steve and kind of some of the owners of these businesses were saying specifically was, again, police department's out there. You guys are going out there trying to get this problem fixed. A lot of it also is, Steve's trying to reach out to Eugene City itself. What is the police department talked about this area with the city of Eugene, city council, to try to possibly, fix this situation?
It's a pretty big question. I don't know if I can really answer it holistically, because obviously there's a ton of conversations that happen way above my level that I'm not involved with, as far as city council and stuff like that too. While I'm privy to some of the different complaints that come through, I see a lot of Steve stuff too. I have a sergeant who works for me on this response, and he reaches out to Steve. He just talked to him obviously just before this thing. That's why our command bus was in the corner of his parking lot, because we need someplace to park it. I knew Steve would be okay doing that, and that was amazing. We love having that thing out there and showing it off. But also too, it's as far as like my level, it's partnerships with these people out there, these businesses, and out there and just taking a proactive response and working with the other city entities that we do. You know, we, like I said, we constantly work with Public Works, getting out there, getting those places cleaned up, taking care of trash and garbage. I mean, just doing those things out there to be proactive and try and make a difference out there.
Absolutely. And when it comes to, you know, obviously police response comes, you know, as quick as it can, as quick as you guys can get out there. But, you know, there are times where, you know, stuff happens right away. You know, several owners have said, you know, we've had people just kind of, they're, you know, outside kind of just running around like in our parking lot, you know, they walk in, you know, what would be, you know, a best way for someone to de-escalate before, you know, police are able to arrive to be able to handle the situation as safely as they can?
It's kind of hard. I mean, it's a situation by situation. But, you know, I mean, like, we encourage, like, I know some of the people talk out there, they have these issues that are going on. We encourage them to call. I know it's hard for response times, and they don't always get the fastest response time because the general patrol is very, very busy, so response times are slow. That being said, though, my team's very proactive and that kind of stuff, so when they see those calls pop up on the screen, they're usually going to go out there and try and handle them as fast as they can for some of those, like, you know, as we call them the quality right crimes, you know, like trespassing, somebody camping on somebody's property, which is typically a trespass unless they're in, like, that public property zone. But, you know, those are the things I try and encourage with people. As far as the de-escalation, you know, just talking to these people, sometimes just asking them to leave, say, hey, you can't be here, just ask them to leave. Sometimes that works, a lot of times they will just move on.
Absolutely. Specifically when it comes to, again, we talked about how long this has been going on, and I know that this specific press release came out today, you know, but prior to that, you know, what have you guys been doing specifically to try to help this change, try to help people out in, like, the community in general? Obviously, like, there's been crimes that have happened before this, you know, and this press release came out. So why specifically today, you know, are we addressing this situation?
Well, so I've been in my role specifically as far as the housing support officers in that team, and I also oversee the park resource officers, which are in the parks, similar role in that regard. This has been an ongoing thing for a long, long time. So even though I know we press released it for the op that we did this last Tuesday, this is actually the second time we've done a big one like this on Highway 99, and we did one about 4 or 5 months ago. They did a pretty big operation in conjunction with the railroad for some of the railroad areas over there and the trespassing that's going on those properties. When railroad asked us to step up and help out, so we assisted them with that kind of stuff. So we're doing a lot of these proactive things. We're just trying to get them out there for the public to see and see the things that we're doing out there and trying to highlight those things. This won't be the last one for Highway 99, and I'm sure there'll be another one here in a couple, you know, a month or so or two or whatever it is. But as far as like my teams and the teams of Public Works that we work with, we're out there daily on Highway 99. I mean, they literally are driving up and down Highway 99 every single day trying to make a dent out there and do what they can on those areas, but they also have the rest of the city as well. So they're out in the rest of the city. I mean, I have 4 housing support officers that for the entire city, and they are addressing all those complaints that you see from, you know, every border of the city. So it's a time management thing, it's a resource thing, so they're trying to hit as much as they can, and those guys work really hard.
Absolutely. And would you say that maybe, obviously again, 4 officers for the entire city, is there like a staffing issue when it comes to trying to, you know, obviously you can't put all of your focus on Highway 99. There is an entire other city, you know. How would you describe, you know, when it comes to staffing and trying to get people out to Highway 99 here at the police station?
Well, I mean, we're lucky enough that we've, you know, it's become a priority, or it's, you know, been made a priority to really address some of this unhoused stuff because of how it is. And it's the city's approach as well, you know, with trespassing as far as the chief's mission. You know, you can only pull so much, right? Because we only have so many cops to pull from, and we're constantly hiring. We're, you know, short quite a few officers. We're always fighting that uphill battle as well. And every cop we pull that we dedicate to some, you know, to a resource like this means it's not on that general patrol. It's responding to all the other calls for service and the plethora of them across, you know, across the city. So that's always a challenge that we're always going to face with that kind of stuff. And the city is very, very busy. Our calls for service have gone up every single year, just nonstop. So.
Yeah, and when I was talking with Steve again, I'm referencing him just because I talked with him for quite a bit today. He talked about, you know, one instance that he had where he saw someone on his property, police came, trespassed him, and then a couple of hours later, this guy was on the other side of the property. You know, I want to know what it takes when it comes to, you know, these people that are out there, either, again, unhoused, when it comes to, again, like mental health problems that they're going through. What does it take to arrest someone out on Highway 99 right now?
So that would be, I mean, that example exactly with Steve Gilbert, that would be an easy one to arrest him for. I mean, it's a trespass. That person's been documented. They're not allowed on the property. So when police respond, they have the option of either citing that person, which is a cite in lieu of custody, which is essentially it's an arrest, or taking that person into physical custody and taking them to jail. What happens on the back end of that, I mean, the jails have their own issues of things. And, even when we were out there doing that Highway 99 op, we saw people that we were arrested that before we were even done, we're back out there coming out like, hey, I'm back out again, So that's always going to be a struggle for us, for those people to actually stay in jail while we're doing those kinds of things, But yeah, literally for somebody to do that, if they're on private property, and that's any private property, and a representative from the business says, you're trespassing, you need to leave, once that happens and they haven't left, then they're arrestable for criminal trespass.
And kind of just going over the specific crimes that happen in the area, when it comes to vandalism, when it comes to, again, trespassing, what specifically are we seeing on Highway 99? Just kind of paint a clear picture.
I mean, we see the full gamut of it. If you're talking about just quality of life crimes, we're seeing trespassing is a big one out on Highway 99. Littering always comes with it, but then we have the public space camping, which is where you're going to see either a tent or some sort of a structure kind of in those grassy green strips out there, or those open field type areas. Some of those are privately owned, but some of those are city owned, you know what I mean? So that's the kind of stuff you're going to see out there. And then, as you get into more times of night, you're going to get like speeding out there. You get the motorists out there that are driving very, very fast on a 5-lane highway, damn near. And that's always going to cause risks out there because you've got a lot of unhoused population that some are seeking services, for the services out there, but others are just, mulling about in the area too. And so you always run the risk with them getting hit by cars and that kind of stuff, the low visibility. So that was part of the motor's response, was to get out there and try and mitigate some of that and do some, pedestrian enforcement, some vehicle enforcement for people driving really, really fast in that area.
Absolutely. And so when it comes specifically to, I know it varies obviously every single day, but typically, and I know you probably don't know the exact number, but how many calls are you seeing, a day, per week when it comes to Highway 99 in particular?
Yeah, that's a hard one for me to put a number on because that's really kind of a stats thing. I don't really keep track of that specifically. I mean, we have people who do, and I don't see those numbers on a regular basis unless I ask for them cold. But I mean, we see a pretty good volume of calls in that area pretty regularly, My team typically is pretty proactive in that area, so they're out there trying to handle things before they even get called in, which is why they're there daily, multiple times a day, trying to deal with that stuff. So, as well as other areas of the city.
Yeah. Now, kind of one last question, looping back kind of around to kind of talking about the future. What are you guys going to try to do if, say specific things aren't working out? Obviously, people aren't wanting to go get treated, as you guys have seen. People go get treated and they're back out there. What could the Eugene Police Department do more of to be able to help the situation happening on Highway 99?
Well, I mean, here's the reality. I mean, police has their kind of scope and focus for it. I mean, everybody has their own piece of this puzzle. I mean, I would argue your treatment facilities, your low barrier shelters that I work with, and those kinds of things. They all have a role trying to get people into services. While we a lot of times facilitate those kind of roles for people in police, our job also is primarily it's enforcement. It's out there to arrest people when they're committing crimes. It's to serve the citizens who are out here who, when a person calls, whether it's a business or an individual, and they say this person's committing a crime on my property, that we respond, we investigate, and we cite or arrest and take that approach. That's always going to be our stance for some of these things when we're dealing with quality of life crimes in areas, especially in the Highway 99 corridor. And like I said, it may not be the first arrest, it may not be the 5th arrest, but maybe that 6th arrest that they've seen us over and over and over and out there, they're going to decide, okay, I probably shouldn't be trespassing on the Dutch Brothers 999, right? And I should probably actually do something better that actually moves my needle in the right direction, because it's going to get old getting arrested by us over and over again. Or not. I mean, it might not. They might like our company, My guys are pretty nice. They're fun to talk to, so maybe they like hanging out with them. I don't know. But, and it's always an evolving process. I mean, that's where we're at right now. That doesn't mean it couldn't be something different, 2 years from now. But we'll see.